Hello and welcome. My name is Kevin. This is Dude for Bruce. We're here in CK3 once more with you all for our final time lapse of Timelapse week. I know all good things must come to an end. Today we have a doozy of a time lapse for you. We've gone ahead and created some wild empires, and then on top of that, given them wild powers to a head of faith in charge of each religion as well as each empire itself. We've modified some of them so that they have a spiritual head that it controls the land as well. How well theocracy does when they control religion and culture of an empire of these sizes. Let's get down to some predictions. First and foremost, I think can't on having any sort of theocracy be in charge for very long, just because the government form as it stands is not strong. I've tried to go ahead and give a portion of each kingdom out to theocratic vassals so that they have a more fighting chance, but as time goes on, the eventuality is that everything will turn feudal. So my guess is that there will be one or two nations still run by their spiritual leader, but for the most part, everything will turn feudal or clan eventually. There's no spoken language because as it stands, theocracies in the base game at least don't have the ability to have all the royal court additions, which is kind of a shame. So most spoken language will be probably High German is probably going to be one of the more spoken languages just from the papacy size. And then finally, one of the larger religions will go with Catholicism. I feel like has a good shot just because they have so much land, as well as Tangri. So it's going to be a toss-up between those two, who can outlast the other. We're off to the races. We'll see you in a bit. Wow. 503 years in the future, and that was an interesting time lapse. We left the Mongols on just to add a little bit of spice to make things even a little more interesting, to see how they would blow up this whole situation, and they definitely blew up the East for the most part. So let's just get started in the East. We have the Buddhism plus Lam incarnation, which is actually still somehow run by their theocratic leader. Wow, just amazing. Title history has been non-stop theocratic. These boys kept it together long enough to keep it happening. What about the Jain? Oh my goodness. 2 out of the many empires still run by the theocratic leader. For the most part, it seems like a lot of the other empires have fallen off. Yeah, people have switched to feudalism or clan or somewhere in between. Yeah. The papacy is done. Empire of Britannia. Duh, Jesus, this is just the Baltic Empire just popping off too. But yeah, somehow that was the 2 dark horses I did not expect, especially them being neighbors. Prediction was that Catholicism was going to be a big one, and so was Tengri. I don't even think Tengri exists anymore. And New Tengri, dead as a doorknob. The rest of the place, what is going? Jain is out here in the west? How did that come about? Some Muwadi still exists, but I think the Mongols came in and said, yeah, that's the religion we want. Ukonusko still having a big time out here, controlling a lot of this area. Probably due to the fact that they're warmongering. And I gave most of them communion so that their leaders could have a good time on, say, getting all that extra money from their vassals. Let's look at culture, see if a lot of these building the big blobs stayed, but no, looks like not. Looks like we have Andalusians still pretty solid here, Bavarian still solid through all that. People are gonna call that sacrilegious. I'm gonna say I don't care. Persians out here, some of the bigger blocks over there. Wow, crazy stuff powering on. But is the papacy itself? Yeah, the Pope's still in control, but how long ago did the papacy lose their theocratic leader? Pretty quickly. They lost it in 920. These are the 2 theocratic still. There's some theocratic powers here. The Coptics are still run by, there's a big portion of the Coptic papacy still in control over here. Theocratics up here in the north. But for the most part, as I said, people were going to give up that land eventually, because for whatever reason, everybody defaults to feudalism, no matter what. Feudalism or clan, whichever one is your taste, your cup of tea, they almost always revert. But for some reason, this just stayed stable enough to maintain that power. Wonder if it's just because of the development that they had, or I'm just interested. Now, the development map mode doesn't support that theory either. And, like, they make decent amount of money, so that shows that that helps keep them in power. And their tenants, maybe, I don't know. Monasticism versus tax the nobility. I don't know. Very interesting. Very interesting. Languages, High German was the one I called out. Yeah, that was a pretty easy guess just because they had controlled so much land. I like this one. Like I said in the intro, theocracies not really fleshed out. I know there's plenty of mods that do a little bit better job to flesh them out a little more, and I would like to see that at least in the next couple DLCs. Hopefully that those kind of government types finally get a little bit of a buff so that they can flourish within this game. And I think that's it for Timelapse Week. Thank you so much for your support, and I hope you all enjoyed this experience. I had a great time putting it all together for you. As always, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and have a good rest of your week. Ciao!